Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the main headline. The subject for this episode is artificial intelligence. I've talked a lot about the rise of AI and pay-per-view recently. So in this episode of the main headline, I want to focus on what is AI. It's the question that people don't seem to ask. So I'm going to start with this article in the Daily Mail. Robotic Priests, AI Cults and a Bible by ChatGPT. Why people around the world are worshipping robots and artificial intelligence. 6-foot robot priests are delivering sermons and conducting funerals. AI is writing Bible verses and ChatGPT is being consulted as if it was an oracle. The personalized, intelligent seeming responses offered by bots such as ChatGPT are also luring people to seek meaning from the technology. Lars Holmquist, Professor of Design and Innovation at Nottingham Trent University, said recently. Psychologists have historically proven that humans interpret their interactions with computers like real social relationships, so it's very possible that people are using AI to find meaning and guidance, much like from religious scriptures, even though there may be no actual meaning there. A life-sized android known as Mindar was developed by the Zen Temple and Osaka University at a cost of almost $1 million. Mindar's hands, face and shoulders are covered in a silicon synthetic skin, while the rest of the droid's mechanical innards are clearly visible. And it says that it has a gender-neutral aluminium-based body. That will be relevant later on. Gabriel Tavato's sanctified theomorphic operator, Santo, robot works like a Catholic Alexa, allowing worshippers to ask faith-related questions. Santo is a small social machine designed to look like a 17-inch tall Catholic saint. The intended main function of Santo is to be a prayer companion, especially for elderly people, by containing a vast amount of teachings, including the whole Bible, reads Travato's website. In 2015, French-American self-driving car engineer Anthony Lewandowski founded the Way of the Future, a church dedicated to building a new God with Christian morals using AI. Other quasi-religious movements which worship AI include transhumanists who believe that in the future AI may resurrect people as God-like creatures. Believers in the singularity hope for the day when man merges with machine, which former Google engineer Ray Kurzweil, I'll come back to him shortly, believes could come as early as 2045, turning people into human-machine hybrids and potentially unlocking godlike powers. Italian information technology and virtual reality consultant Giulio Prisco hopes that AI will put human beings on a par with godlike aliens. The AI company IV.ai trained artificial intelligence on the King James Bible with a bot which can create new Bible verses. The Church of AI used ChatGPT to write a spiritual guide called Transmorphosis, which boasts that it also describes in detail how AI will inevitably take control of planet Earth and gain godlike powers, so it would be good to be ready for that. This is one of the ways that AI is being sold to us. The idea that the AI takeover is inevitable, therefore we should merge with AI to make the most of it. I don't agree with that myself. It's not inevitable at all, but it's a sales pitch. The sheer power of systems such as ChatGPT means that people have a tendency to treat them as if they are living beings, Holmquist said. He goes on, earlier chatbots could hold shorter conversations about specific topics, but the new ones such as GPT-5 and Google's Gemini are incredibly impressive in their knowledge and ability. From there, it is an easy step to believe they are actually conscious. It is well known that humans are predisposed to treat computers and other machines as if they were alive. There is a famous experiment by Reeves and Nass at Stanford and a book, The Media Equation, where they ran the same tests on people. So, people who think that the AI takeover is mere paranoia should just look at how AI is already being used. It's producing art, music, poetry, novels, and news reports. China uses AI newsreaders modelled after real-life news anchors. Romanian Prime Minister Nicolae Chiusa employs an AI assistant named Ion to scan social media and inform the government of the opinions of Romanians. and he said it's the first government minister to use AI. It may be the first, but will it be the last? And AI is quite some way at the moment from a credible standard to replace humans doing what AI is being used for. But that's in the public arena. Beyond what we see in the deep levels of military intelligence and the hidden beyond the public arena, the technology is massively advanced of anything we see. And a more recent example of the ever-increasing AI presence is ChatGPT, a chatbot developed by OpenAI. A chatbot can be used for general conversation, as well as a research tool, music composition, writing essays, generating business ideas, and even finding and fixing errors in a computer. And the article talks about people conversing with AI as if it's human. That's part of this assimilation. That's the idea, that you get people used to AI as if it's human, because where you want to go eventually is summed up by Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil, a Google executive, Google obviously in Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley was created by American military intelligence. See this book by investigative journalist Yasha Levine, Surveillance Valley, The Secret Military History of the Internet. Kurzweil is also a co-founder of the Singularity University. He says that humans will have cloud-powered brains by 2030. AI pioneer Ray Kurzweil has predicted that within 15 years technology will exist that will allow human brains to be connected directly to the internet. Our thinking, he says, will then be a hybrid of biological and non-biological thinking. We're going to gradually merge and enhance ourselves. In my view, that's the nature of being human. We transcend our limitations. We'll be able to extend our limitations and think in the cloud. We're going to put gateways to the cloud in our brains. And AI is designed to run the cloud. So AI replaces the human mind in that way. So that's the plan. AI will connect to the human brain and do more human thinking. So the question is, what is this AI that's going to take over human perception then, or is planned to at least? Well, a fascinating documentary series, Through the Wormhole, examines many questions about reality, the universe, and life. And in one episode, Christopher Dami, Michigan State University, says that life can be defined in terms of informational processes. In other words, digital life. No form. We have this idea that life has to take form, not necessarily. And a key thing that is necessary to understand what is AI is the fact that of the mass and matter in the universe, the electromagnetic spectrum is said to be about 0.005% of what exists in terms of energy, electromagnetic energy, in all its different forms. And some say 0.5, but either way, it's a fraction. Visible light, the visible part of the electromagnetic spectrum, is only 0.0035% of the 0.005% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So that's all we can see of the universe, that tiny spectrum. So what is beyond that? And we don't even see 1% of even the electromagnetic spectrum, let alone beyond that. So what other realities, what other forms of life lie beyond that? What if AI became so advanced that it could create a simulation? What if this is a simulation? And I've gone into that in this podcast before. I'm not going to go over it again. But I say that for reasons I explained in my book Reality Check, why I say that AI created this simulation that we're experiencing now. And some people would call that, some people would say God created it, but what is the nature of this God? Stephen Fry, the author, actor, writer Stephen Fry, sums it up very well in these clips.
Bone cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is such misery that is not our fault? It's not right. It's utterly, utterly evil. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-minded, stupid God who creates a world which is so full of injustice and pain, as being all-seeing, all-wise, all-kind, all-beneficent? Because the God who created this universe, if it was created by God, is quite clearly a maniac, utter maniac, totally selfish. You know, atheism is not just about not believing there's a God, but on the assumption that there is one. What kind of God is he? It's perfectly apparent that he is monstrous, utterly monstrous, and deserves no respect whatsoever.
So what about if it was what Stephen Fry describes as an utterly, utterly evil consciousness, an AI, that created this simulation? And there's different names for this AI, this consciousness. Christians talk about the devil and demons. Islamic and pre-Islamic belief talk about the jinn. In Central America, they talk about the flyers. In South Africa, they talk about the Chitahuri. And the Gnostic belief talks about the demiurge and Yaldabaoth. But the common theme is that it's a non-human manipulative force manipulating human society. Christianity and other religions as well, but let's take that Christianity as an example. They say God created the world. They don't say the world developed naturally. Is it not more likely that they're describing the creation of the simulation, that Genesis in the Bible is describing the creation of a simulation, as opposed to a natural world? And when you look at the correlations between how the God of the Old Testament in Christianity and other descriptions in other cultures and beliefs mirror each other. So, for example, the Gnostic texts report an entity they call the demiurge or Yaldabaoth, which is what Christianity would call the devil, as claiming, "It is I who am God, and there is no other power apart from me." And then the Bible quotes the Old Testament God as saying, "I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me." And there's a quite obvious contradiction between the Old and New Testament God. It would seem the New Testament God is just a PR exercise to make God seem more loving than he actually is. And what if God and the devil, so to speak, are actually the same entity? What if they are pseudonyms for AI? The AI that created the simulation. And I've gone into why that would be in Reality Check. I'm not going to go into that now, but basically it's about feeding off the energy of suffering. Thus, this AI created a reality, a simulation in which there would be constant 24/7 suffering worldwide. And that brings me on to Halloween, because Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, originally called Samhain, meaning summer's end, was a Gaelic pagan festival marking the end of the harvest season and beginning of winter, or darker half of the year. In Irish mythology, Samhain was a time when the doorways to the other world opened, allowing supernatural beings and the souls of the dead to come into our world. The word hallow means holy, referring to religious deities, but religious deities are in truth a depiction of this demonic consciousness, so it should really be called All Demons Eve. The other world is also known as the astral plane. In the same way, when you play a virtual reality game, you are playing the game in a different reality to the virtual reality of the game. There is an other world outside the world of the game in which the game was created and is being played and experienced. In the case of our virtual reality simulation, the other world is the astral plane, where the demons reside primarily, although they can enter our world, and Halloween is a time when the walls between dimensions are thinner than usual. Satanic and other rituals also contribute to this thinning out between dimensions. And one of the reasons for rituals is during the ritual, the terror of the sacrifice, often a child, sometimes animals, but often children, is built up and built up and built up. And then during the climax of the victim is sacrificed, and the people in the ritual drink the blood, because during the blood, a particular type of adrenaline energy, some call it adrenochrome, is released into the bloodstream, and it's like a high for the people taking part in the ritual. But for the demonic consciousness possessing those taking part in the ritual, it's like a nectar. It's especially because it's a child, something about the energy of children before puberty, in that state of terror in a ritual, is more desirable for these entities, these demonic entities, than it is when they get that negative energy in any other situation for some reason. So if we return now to this theme of AI and technology and the transhuman agenda, in terms of merging with technology, an article on futurism.com entitled "Synthetic Biology, It's Alive, but Is It Life?" points out that synthetic biology in the public arena can already build organs for organ transplants, and in the future we could even potentially create cyborgs using the technology, which means they already can in the hidden. An article in The Independent from 2017 entitled "Scientists Create New Life Form in a Lab Altering the Fundamentals of DNA" explains that scientists have created living organisms using an expanded genetic code, which could lead to the creation of entirely new life forms. Scientists have created synthetic base pairs of DNA and have laid the foundation for achieving the central goal of synthetic biology, the creation of new life forms and functions. And synthetic biology is a vastly growing field in science now. And the reason for that is because in the end, the plan is that humans not only merge with AI, but actually we become at least partly technological, and as the generations go on, eventually humans are created synthetically in a laboratory. See Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. And the Gnostic texts say about the archons, which is basically the cyborg minions of the demiurge, if you like. They're not biological, and they don't result from some form of biological birth and growth process like humans and animals do. They're what we might call a synthetic life form in our language. This is why we've got all this constant focus on transgender and other genders, because if you want to remove gender, because you want a human form that does not procreate, because you don't need procreation if humans are created synthetically. Transgender is a transition to the transhuman, the technological synthetic human. And I've gone into that in the books and in pay-per-view in detail over the years. I won't go into it all now. But to sum up, AI is this demonic consciousness, the AI that created this simulation. So, what can we do? Well, we can stop the incessant march towards the tech and AI takeover by not being addicted to the smartphone and other technology. That's a start. And we can and this is the biggest thing, understand that our true self is not the human body, it's consciousness. Gone into this in this podcast before and in Reality Check. What we are is consciousness, ultimately an infinite consciousness that can perceive anything and make anything happen. And we don't need to go through technology. Technology is there to make up for the fact that we are in a state of consciousness that needs to use technology to overcome the limitations. But ultimately we can be as awakened to that consciousness as we choose, and that's the biggest contribution. And this technology agenda is moving fast, and it's about time people woke up to it. Thank you for watching.